Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at some comments Yoshida made regarding the delay of the next Ultimate encounter in Final Fantasy XIV. For those who missed the news, it was confirmed in the previous letter from the producer live that Dragonsong War Ultimate would be the next Ultimate encounter. However, it was also confirmed that it would be delayed from patch 5.5 all the way until patch 6.1. This was definitely a disappointment for a lot of hardcore raiders because we were told that despite the pandemic, they were largely back to normal with their development. While most of us are relatively understanding of it, there are definitely those who sit more on the disappointed benchmark, especially with those comments about their ongoing development. So, in a recent interview with GameWatch, Yoshida provided more context as to what led to the decision to delay Dragonsong War Ultimate. The same person who translated the Famitsu interview has provided me with a translation for this. I noticed they locked their Twitter accounts. I'm afraid that maybe linking their Twitter in the description of the video may have led to a little bit too much in the way of attention. So I'm not going to link that here, but I do want to give credit to Lincoln for providing this translation as he did, and I will provide a source to the original interview in the description of the video below. So the interviewer with this question asked, the new installment of the Ultimate series, Dragonsong War Ultimate's postponement was announced during the last producer live letter. During the last interview we've had, you spoke about how there would be little impact on the development schedule. This is, of course, the thing I just mentioned. After our interview, the state of emergency was declared in Japan. In the end, did this mess up the development schedule? So asking the question about if it was specifically the state of emergency, Yoshida actually goes into a great length to describe what led to this decision. Some of it being really his decision to delay it more so than the development team's decision to delay it. So he describes how internally the Ultimate content works. So it's difficult to make this content, obviously. A number of mechanics, there's a lot of them. Even if they create the content according to their plans, there's a process of trial and error to make sure that it can be more or less difficult than what they planned it to be. So at this point, they shaped up the trial, and they needed to get to the Q&A. They needed to fine-tune it, see what could be changed, if anything needed to be taken out, added, etc., etc. They have 8 members on the dev team, specifically 8 people who they have tested. They're highest skilled players. They test if it's doable, look at the outgoing damage, changing the number of phases, etc. Basically, the whole QA process. Upon making any change, they have to test it again. They have to test it, and then on top of that, Yoshida has to test it themselves to check with things like the ability to concentrate for long periods of time and the degree of fatigue that it comes with. This was especially prevalent back in UCOB, where a lot of players expressed that it was a little bit too long and that the development team had to now take that into consideration with their development of the content. In the end, making an Ultimate trial comes with scheduling issues. The 8 dev members testing the trial all have different positions in the dev team. Some are dedicated to making alliance raid bosses, some make extreme trials, some are in charge of job balance and system changes. So they're not looking at people who are specifically put aside to work on Ultimate content. They are just their highest skilled players across the various departments, which is an interesting way of going about this because it means that the people developing it are not the same people who need to test to see if it's beatable. That means there's a few more people involved in the development of the content than initially expected. While trying to minimize to its lowest impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on development, we have to prioritize content that can be played by most players. This, of course, was expected. This was largely one of the biggest reasons given, among one other thing we'll get into a little bit later, as to why Ultimate was not that surprising of a cut if it had to come down to making that decision. Because of this, we slowly but surely lost a fair amount of time to tune the fight. As I said, for the Ultimate trials, once we've shaped up the fight, we have to work all while testing it. So they still have to do their other things while also putting in time to test it. As such, having less time to adjust the fight is a crucial issue for us. So the person who is in charge of this Ultimate actually said it would be possible to get it done in time. The person in charge of the project went as far as telling me, I think it's doable if we extend my working hours to its utmost limit. So give me your permission. So basically the guy said, whatever the maximum number of hours I'm allowed to work, if we can get all 8 people under those conditions, we can get it out in time. So I want to do that. And Yoshida just decided that he wouldn't let him do that. He wouldn't let him put that much time into it because it was still going to be a lot of time. They already had an incredible amount of work to deal with, even without taking Ultimate into account. This problem means that there are issues with scheduling and that it's hold on, this one's my bad. My responsibility. Will content that has been made while making several dev members overwork to an unhealthy degree really be enjoyable. Expected that the extra hours would probably impact the overall quality of the encounter. If we release content while thinking about how we could have done this or that better, that feeling will be conveyed to the players. We all have lives to deal with, we push ourselves to the limits while having dev costs in mind, and we're technically able to release the trial in about 2 months. However, it would have meant delaying Endwalker's launch. So basically a combination of refusing to let his team deliberately overwork themselves, an unhealthy work environment, what means that they, no matter what, if he wanted to keep a healthy work environment and develop it, it would have been pushed back. It would have affected Endwalker because these people would have had to give up their other responsibilities in order to make it work. And I think and from that point, this is what we know. The decision there is obvious, to make sure the expansion launch is on time and to then push it to the next logical ultimate release point, which would be 6.1. After the first Savage Raid tier, people have beaten that, collected gear from that. It only makes sense to make sure that that would be the next stepping off point. I'm sure players are very much looking forward to Endwalker, so cutting content on both ends was not an option. We came to the conclusion that explaining the reasons of the delay, creating a good working environment, and creating the trial with motivated dev members is something that players will enjoy more in the end. And I'm sure that is true. I mean, this is something that's really important. It's kind of a stigma with people who work in Japan for them to overwork themselves. It's considered something that it's unhealthy, but a little bit too common. And so Yoshida trying to work against that. I mean, I just looked at it as I get an extra week of sleep before Endwalker comes out. That's essentially what an ultimate delay means to me, because I'll do it in 6.1 and, you know, that'll be fine. I'll enjoy it all the same. So the fact that he's putting his development members ahead of their own, I guess he's putting their best interest ahead of what they actually want to do, since they offered to actually put in those extra hours in order to get it done, and he wouldn't allow that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. Regarding working on future Ultimate trials, though, and this I think is just as important as what we just read about his development members and their working environment, we came to the conclusion we need to work in a more planned and efficient way. So this whole thing of 8 people who have nothing to do with the project just fitting time in for Ultimate probably isn't going to be the norm going forward. If you ask us if Japan's declaration of state of emergency had any impact on our plans, I say it was like being slowly strangled. It slowly but surely started to have its impact on Ultimate, a difficult kind of content to make, and we just couldn't make it in the end. The fact we need to have the 8 dev members test the trial for a long time was also hard on us. Also, due to working from home, our work efficiency is slightly less than what it was before, like 99%, but it does have an impact on it. I think any of us who have had to work from home or do something from home know that while you're still focusing on what you should be doing, you're also comfortable at home, and that kind of has a little bit of an impact. And I have to imagine that between that and potentially any sort of connection issues or upload issues, they spoke about this a lot with the 2-month delay of 5.3, that's going to affect efficiency, even if just a little. It is going to have an impact over time. I do not want to put the blame on the pandemic for our problems, but things that were cut down started to pile up, and ultimately we had to make the decision. As the director and also the producer of the game, Ultimate's postponement is the decision I made. So was the postponement a last-minute decision? Let me bold that up real quick. I didn't want to announce this kind of decision on livestream and disappoint the players, while the dev team were telling me they wanted to try their best even to the very last minute. There were people looking forward to the world first race, people making statics, people taking time off their jobs. I'm looking at a lot of comments regarding this issue. I truly am sorry that the announcement came in late. Yeah, we were I remember a lot of us, our first comment, I know myself especially, Sfia and probably a few other people, so, they just confirmed they just confirmed patch 5.5 was April 13th, like a month in advance. That's like the best. That's great for Ultimate, because that means another 2 weeks after that, and Ultimate will be, yo, that's perfect. I'm so glad. They should do this a lot more in the future. Only to have this announcement come out, and we're like, that didn't age well. That didn't age well at all. So, again, it's something that I expressed opinion about when it first happened. Yeah, it sucks. But I can't be that upset about it. I just can't bring myself to be upset about something not going right in a pandemic. They say it's back to normal. Something happens. That's just how it's been for the last year. I'm kind of I just don't have the how do I put it? I can't be upset about something like this. That's it. It just can't be. This has been life for the past year, and I wish more people understood that. Even if something says it's back to normal, we're probably going to be seeing the impact of game development of the pandemic more this year and next year than we did last year. The delays we saw last year, the short-term delays for things that we're releasing in 2020 versus the delay of things that were affected long-term in 2021 and 2022. More likely to be impacted, I feel, even if it may not be talked about quite as much. So that covers Yoshida's explanation about their internal Ultimate development and about how they're going to be streamlining it a little bit more in the future to make sure that this doesn't happen again. If there were to be some situation like another pandemic, hate to say that out loud, that could cause issues in the future. So they've got all their setup now. They can work towards making sure that they have all the proper work conditions going forward. And hopefully that means 2 ultimates in 6.x. That being said, put the second ultimate in 6.3. I don't even want to chance the 6.5 ultimate at this point, because I think that if a 6.3, if something goes wrong and they delay it till 0.5, it's better than doing 0.5 and delaying until the next X1. So that's all I'm going to say in that regard. But thank you for watching this video. Hopefully this was good for some insight for those of you who are wondering about what actually happened with Ultimate development. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned, because we've got 5.5 information, content, guides, all that coming out in the next couple of weeks. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.